Hello, Vancouver, and hello, young urban professionals in real estate. My name is Matt Nugent. I think you know Volodya Gusak, and this is Chris O'Neill. And for the last 15 years, our group has been helping to run the Young Urban Professionals in Real Estate, or YUPRE. And I know we're all looking forward to getting back out into a Vancouver patio, enjoying a couple of beers with a couple of friends, and talking about the industry and getting going with things. But we can't, and we're all in lockdown right now. So one of the things that we're going to try to do in the coming weeks is try to see if we can find a way to find other ways to socialize with the group and to be there for you guys in a way that we always have been. And so I think one of the ways that we figured would be a good way to do that is if we took some time to open up and talk about what we've been going through for the past couple of weeks and share with you what our lives have been like. And hopefully that'll encourage you to do the same with us. And we'd like to be able to come up with a video every week talking about some of the things that have been happening during the week and hearing from people that you and I all know really well and miss seeing around. So at that, I'm going to leave it to Volodya and Chris and to talk about what their lives have been like over the past couple of weeks. And so let's give Volodya a go.
Thank you, Matt. I want to talk about three things rather briefly. One is the virus itself as the biggest issue that we face, the economy, and the real estate business from our perspective as a developer. About the virus, social distancing works. We've seen evidence now more than ever that it works and works really well. We have seen a slowdown in the number of cases that have been posted. Many of them are actually the cases where people have been sick for a while, and it's just that they weren't tested until now. Now they've been tested. So I think that the next couple of weeks will be more cases will show up, but I think that there's also been a dramatic reduction in the number of transmissions, which is a big thing, great news. Great news doesn't mean we go back to normal quickly, unfortunately, but it's inevitable. And all of the scientists have made a claim that we're 12 to 16 months away from having a vaccine, where we know that's when the world goes back to normal. So the second thing is about the economy. A couple of points in the economy. Obviously, we are in a recessionary environment. It's very dark times. So my advice to you, young urban professionals, is monitor how much news you watch, because it can get depressing quickly if you overdo it. But let's talk about the economy, right?
Without question.
But let's talk a little bit about the economy. We are in recession, and there have been recessions in the past. And obviously, many of us will remember 2008 and 2009 as the world economic crisis. This time it's different, and different in a way that we know there's a predictable end to this particular recession and what's going to happen. That end is when we have the vaccine. Now, it could be a little bit sooner, but fundamentally it's about getting that vaccine. The minute we have it, the minute we know that there's no more risk about transmission and people getting sick and people losing their lives, we're going back to normal. So in the meantime, there are, of course, issues with the economy where we are frozen. Frozen meaning that nobody's going out, nobody's buying anything other than groceries, I guess. You can't buy real estate. There are no open houses, etc. So the economy has been affected dramatically. But because of that predictability about what happens with the economy into the future, we know that there is an end to it. The governments have done a phenomenal job at stimulating and being active and proactive in providing various packages. For example, people can postpone their mortgage payments by 6 months. That's an excellent thing. The other thing, and especially in an environment where people don't spend a lot of money, so you can, by postponing your mortgage payment where you're only spending on food, etc., and some loans can also be postponed, you're in good shape to wait it out. The other thing that they've done is they've supported small businesses with various packages as well. We'll know more on coming Monday about the next level of support, and we'll see more and more packages come out as well. And we see down south as having very similar, if not more aggressive, support for the economy. And the last thing I want to talk about is a little bit about real estate business and how we personally have been affected by it. Density Development Corp. We have been, from our inception, we've been set up to work remotely, which is wonderful. We did that without knowing, but of course nobody knew. This is a black swan event. By definition, nobody knew it was coming. But we also knew that working remotely can be productive. And there were studies that showed that you could be even more productive by working remotely. Why? Because you have fewer distractions. So one of the biggest issues with working in a big office, you're surrounded by people who can interrupt you all the time. So for now over 2 weeks, most of our staff have been working remotely, and the few that do pop into the office are only doing that out of convenience. If they live downtown across the street from the office, why not? It's now they're treating it like a separate room rather than an office, and so it's just more convenient, right? Other than that, our business has been affected just like anyone else. And that is, I think, that the volume of transactions that we anticipated for 2020 is going to go down dramatically, because for us to acquire new sites and do more business will become more challenging, more difficult when the world is on pause, right? Mm-hmm. Other than that, I would say it's business continues. The projects that are under construction for us, they continue. I had conversations with our lender where they're being very accommodating about prolonging our loans if we need to, et cetera, et cetera. So, however, the audience and the speaking to the young urban professionals, please know that working remotely may be foreign to you, and you may not have had that experience before. So my advice is create a schedule, have a routine. If you have a routine and you stick with it, you'll be not only more productive, but you'll be much more satisfying in the end. You've now eliminated the commute from your home. You've now have a little bit extra time, set up an ergonomic space so that you're not hurt when you work for a couple of hours straight. And by not having interruptions, you might surprise yourself how productive you can be. And over
yeah, it's a good points. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thanks so much, Volodya. I completely agree that the shift to working from home is definitely fairly large, and I think that keeping into the routine has been really helpful for me. Continuing to set my alarm early, continuing to do some kind of physical fitness, trying to eat fruits and vegetables and not just cookies and chips whenever I can. And I found myself to be really productive. One thing that I found to be really helpful is continuing that face-to-face contact with friends from the office, as well as not even in the office, just friends in the industry. I probably have at least 5 or 6 Zoom calls a day, both with my team at Colliers. Some background is that I work at Colliers in the office leasing division, specializing in tenant rep in the tech sector. So lots of Zoom calls with both clients and the team. Been staying very busy this week. A lot of questions with landlords and tenants and other industry folk just about how the COVID-19 is impacting lots of these businesses. Many of them are finding that their revenues are hit really hard. And maybe if they're more on the retail side, they're down to 0%. Of course, with this, a question that we get asked all the time is, am I able to defer my rent payments to my landlord? I see that mortgage payments are able to be deferred. And unfortunately, well, the first thing that I would say is talk to your lawyer. Make sure you fully understand what is in your lease agreement and what rights the landlord has and what rights you have. The second is that if one tenant comes to a landlord and tells him that they're unable to pay rent, then that tenant likely has a problem. But if 100 or 200 tenants come to the landlord and say that they're unable to pay rent, then the landlord has a problem, quite frankly. So landlords understand that we're all in this together. And they're really looking at things on a case-by-case basis. And although they likely don't have any legal obligation to give you a rent abatement or rent deferral, I've seen instances where they're open to it. The instances that I've seen where the landlords have been the most open to this is they want to see that your revenues are actually being significantly impacted. There's been a lot of noise and a lot of people who are asking for rent abatements from landlords who, frankly, haven't had their revenues be impacted very significantly. Right. They just think that it's an easy opportunity, it's an easy time to get some extra free rent. So the landlords are wanting to see that you actually are having a significant hit to your revenue. They also tend to want to see that you're doing other things to try to mitigate this. They want to see that you're cutting costs. They want to see that they don't want to see that you're firing employees, but they want to see that you're cutting costs in other ways as well. One other thing that I've been talking to a lot of people about recently was that the government recently announced that some small businesses can apply for the federal government to cover, I believe it was up to 75% of the wages for their employees, with staff wages being the number one cost for most businesses. I think that this will have a really major impact.
And I could, if I may, I can comment on that, because that was one of the things I also alluded to, that come Monday, we should have clarity as to what that means. The package
Mhm.
that provided for 10% subsidy, it was already well understood and was rolled out last week. Obviously there are limits. It's very important to pay attention to the limits when we make a broad statement, and we hear something as wonderful as to say 75% of wages covered. I don't expect it to be fully 75%. I'm pretty sure there will be the limits that were put in place will continue being in place. For example, like $25,000 limit per company, and there's all types of things, or limited to the number of remittances that you would normally make to the government. The remittances meaning CPP, EI payments, and taxes. But one way or the other, Chris, you nailed it. I mean, the amount of support that's pouring from the government is just tremendous, and it's been so helpful that we haven't seen this type of quick reaction ever before. I can't go back in history and say, oh, right, you know what, back in 2008, we did it just as quickly. No, we didn't. It was a lot slower. And it's probably because, again, back then, we didn't know. Normally, a recession environment is when the demand falls off the cliff and you have no idea when it comes back. In this case, we actually know when it comes back, and we know why it fell off the cliff, and we know why we're in this situation today. We're just waiting for the vaccine. We're waiting for another way. We're waiting for the treatment options, right?
Right. Well, and that's one of the interesting thing, right, in terms of what the bank has been able to do, and the big thing that they tried to do right out of the gate was they dropped the interest rates really low, and I understand that on a lot of the commercial loan side, specifically with land, that was actually really helpful in terms of deferring payments and maintaining a lower interest rate. It's been a slow pickup on the income properties, from what I understand, and then of course on residential, everyone was commenting about how residential rates were still going up to closer to 3% when the bank rate was down to 0.25. It didn't make sense. But then I think we heard today that RBC has now finally said, okay, well, we recognize that the rate has come down quite a bit, so we're going to bring our rate down to match something that's more reflective of where the new rate is. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that from the chartered banks coming forward in the coming weeks, because they didn't drop the interest rate so the chartered banks can make a lot more money. They dropped it so that they could figure out a way that they could use that new interest rate to facilitate everybody's financial worries right now. So, and I'm hopeful that's going to be coming a lot more in the coming weeks as well. So. Excellent. Chris, you got some more things you want to say there?
That was really the gist of what I wanted to share with the YUPRE community, just trying to share a little bit of what I've been seeing in my industry this week, or these past 2 weeks, and just helpful tips that I've had for staying sane in quarantine as a broker. I think I'm a natural extrovert, so staying at home alone for me for 2 weeks has been difficult, but trying to stay mentally sane and trying to eat healthy and continue on my regular sleep schedule has really helped me be efficient. And as you said, there's so many less distractions working from home. One of my friends is a lawyer who told me that she's actually on pace for her highest billable hours in the past 3 years, because she has so few distractions. And I guess one other tip that I have for working from home is, and I think Volodya mentioned it, is having a dedicated workspace where you're free of distractions. This workspace is not in your bedroom beside your bed. It's maybe not beside the kitchen. Too many distractions for me, at least. But getting dressed out of pajamas, out of sweatpants, into a room that's dedicated for work helps put me in the mental state to focus and stay efficient.
Isn't that funny how the minute we have the freedom to do whatever we want, we start giving up on the most basic things like personal hygiene or discipline of having a schedule, right?
Yeah, I'm weird, but I might need to shave it off soon.
Well, like I'm one of those guys. I'm one of those guys that I'm like, I love living in pajamas and sweatpants, and even for me, I think it was like Monday or Tuesday this week, I was like, I've gotten to the point where it's even too much for me. So I'm like, I'm making the effort now. I'm putting the work clothes on every day. And I have casual work clothes, but I'm putting the work clothes on every day just because I can't do it anymore. And that's a big step for me to have to say that. So I have to fake it, a little bit, like doing the hair and shaving, every 4 days. Like for me, the deal side of the equation, for those of you guys who don't know what I do, I work at McDonald's commercial, and a lot of what I've been working on lately over the past couple of years has been strata wind-up deals. These strata wind-up deals are long, they're complicated, they take a lot of months. They require the courts to be open, which they're not. in order to be able to move anything forward in terms of decisions in regards to a strata windup, I need to be able to have votes. To have a vote, I need to have a general meeting. And these are all things I can't have right now. So the past couple of weeks has been a lot about trying to educate our buyers that that we can't facilitate any votes, and if they still want the deals, we need some extensions in order to allow for that to happen. And these extensions are interesting because we're coming up with dates that are anywhere from 6 to 9 months down the road because we don't really know what's going to happen. So so far it's been okay, and we're hopeful it's going to keep going in the right direction. And once this reset is done, then we're going to be able to get back to life as normal. But that's kind of a big part of what my life's been like the last couple of weeks. One of the things that I've kind of realized, and I think a lot of us have realized, is that this pandemic is going to result in somewhat of a paradigm shift in terms of how the world does work and how we find ways to get things done. And this was the first one for me. On Thursday this past week, we had a sales meeting at McDonald Commercial, and we had 45 brokers in on a sales meeting on Zoom. And we're fortunate enough to have Eric Carlson was at the meeting, and he was a guest speaker for the meeting, and he was assuming he was zooming in from his house. And it was interesting. So Eric Carlson is president and founder of Anthem Properties. He's probably got more at stake than most of us. He's got 20 development sites and that are on the go, and a bunch of them that were supposed to start off this week this year. He's got commercial property, all over North America, and it's all on hold, right? And so, but for somebody like that, he came forward, and his message was very positive and was very strong, and he echoed a lot of what you were saying, Volodya. He thinks that this is we're probably in this for 6 to 8 weeks, so that takes us to around end of May kind of idea, and then there's going to be a slow kind of it's like a bear coming out of hibernation. It's going to be a slow exit. And then by the time we get to September, people are going to be a little bit more comfortable being social, doing things the way we used to do things. And then you get into 2020, and there's a little bit more of or 2021 will be more of a building year. And then, in his words, 2022, he expects to be kick ass. And one of the things he said that really, I really took away from it was that during this period, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to lose a lot of things. And coming out of this period, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be hell bent on trying to make back what they lost. And for those of us that are in the business that need that, that's going to represent a fantastic opportunity to make some things happen. And so, he said, he's like, you guys got to pay attention to it, and you got to be ready, because once it starts to get going again, there's going to be a lot of people who are hungry to fix and get back to where they were before this all started. And I completely agree with him. And his last kind of parting words for us were, we have a really strong local economy here locally across the nation. We're in one of the best positions to recover from this relative to a lot of other regions. And it does look like we're doing and handling it quite well. And basically it's like, hang in tight. And when this is over, it'll get better. It's going to be painful for a couple of months, but it'll get better. And for somebody like that to be able to send those sentiments to the rest of us, I found that to be really helpful, and it was inspiring, and I think made all of us feel just a little bit better. So
this too shall pass, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. This too shall pass. So, YUPRE's always been about filling a social need. And I know when we started it 15 years ago, it was about how do you build those relationships within the industry with people that are similar to you in age and interest, so that when you come up with these challenges, they can help you get through these challenges. When you have these successes, you can celebrate them together. And when you're growing through this industry, you can grow through it together. And I don't think there's any question that right now we are dealing with one of the most serious challenges in any of our careers collectively. And so more than ever, we wanted to let everybody out there know that we're here to kind of keep facilitating that growth process. And you guys are going through unique challenges at home right now that are different than anything you've ever shared before. And if you share those with us, I guarantee we're going to be able to find other people that have had those same challenges and that can help you solve those problems. And if you have some successes that you've had in the past couple of weeks that you want to share, let us know about it. We'd love to have you, as part of one of these videos to talk about what you've been doing and how you've been getting through it. And I think it's going to help a lot of people out there to do that. I believe that there's still a very strong interest throughout the entire business and the entire industry to get business done and to do things. We just have to figure out how to do it. And it's going to be new. It's going to be different. And the next couple of weeks are going to be about trying to figure out how to make business happen in this new world. But I do believe that there's a strong willingness to do that. And as long as we all collectively put our minds towards, solving these problems and how to make these things work, I think we're all going to be okay. And it's going to be exciting. And it's going to be interesting and a lot of fun once we come out of this. So anyways, we wanted to say hi, and we're going to try to do other things in the coming weeks to find ways to get us all to socially engage a little bit more and reconnect with everybody. And anyways, that's about all we wanted to say today. We hope you guys are all doing well and that you're safe and at home and healthy with your families, and stay happy and stay healthy. And hopefully we'll have a chance to chat with you all again next week. So